Great. All right. Well, great to be with you. So we are at Wednesday of Holy Week. We have Thursday and Friday. Friday, I'm going to have the meditation at 7 in the morning so that the reflection can go out first thing in the morning. And depending on where you are in your Good Friday celebrations, or however you may observe the day, you have access to it earlier on. So that will be 7 a.m. Central Time. That's 8 a.m. Eastern. And that is 5 if you're on the Pacific Coast. So I know that that's a little bit early, but maybe you'll be up for it. Okay. So we have today the fourth chakra and the fourth word. And I chose today to be just one of the phrases because the heart chakra is such a powerful center. All of them are really, really equally powerful. But the heart tends to be a way we speak of our openness of spirit or our closeness of spirit, what we hold in our hearts, what we work through, the emotional center, the center of the soul, it really connotes so much in our popular understanding. And going along with this chakra, I have the words of Jesus, and let me read it in context of its passage in the Gospel of Luke. So Luke chapter 23, verses 32 and following. 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. The people stood there watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he is God's Messiah, the chosen one." The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar and said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." So in this Gospel of Luke, we have right when he is taken out and crucified, really the phrase that is coming forward immediately in the Gospel of Luke is, "Forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." And how true that can be in life. If we look deeply at the ways that we've been wounded, if we truly look deeply, we discover that the hurt that was done is often done not through a conscious willing of maliciousness, but through an unconsciousness. Through an unconsciousness. Through not really understanding something about compassion, through not understanding the self and the way the self is motivated by the unconscious. If we truly look deeply, we discover that every person has a path, and along that path where they act in ways that seem to be hurtful or feel hurtful, we discover that there is a level of unconsciousness. And we discover that as well when we pull back the veil and we look even at ourselves. Even at ourselves. And when we look at ourselves and we could possibly say, "Forgive me, I do not know what I do." We find there an ability to be authentic and honest, that a way that we may have acted or interacted wasn't ultimately for the highest good, or was unconscious, or was motivated by by unhealed parts of ourselves that resulted in unkindness or lack of foresight or lack of compassion. That these things happen within us, and if we look closely, we discover, truly, we discover that we are responsible for ourselves and our actions. And we're responsible for owning that we're not as conscious as we think. We are responsible for that as well. You know, Therese of Lisieux is a great example of this kind of understanding. She was in an environment in her age, and many of you know this, but I'll repeat it for those that don't, that was highly influenced by looking at the merit of actions and choices, and by placing a lot on reparation for unworthiness, or doing penance with beads and then counting it up, like you've got all these merits, like we're going to use a mala today, and when we do it all in that culture in her time, it would have been shored up. You would have shored up some brownie points with God in acting like that. And she recognized that she was in love with a God that was a God of mercy. And when she looked at a God of mercy, she said, I 100% believe in a God who is just. And a God who is just looks at us with eyes of mercy, because so often we do not know what we do. And then when we look at this phrase even closer, and this really affects our hearts even closer, what ways do we hold grudges against ourselves, or fail to be liberal in the way that we forgive ourselves for ways that we are short-sighted? How might we act in an ungodly manner by not being liberal with the forgiveness of ourselves? And there is something quite deep in our culture around this. There is something, and I have needed to work through healing of this in my own Western psyche, that somehow that if we punish ourselves, we're more worthy of mercy and forgiveness. That somehow if we show, I know what a terrible person I am, / that somehow that makes it more amenable for us to receive compassion or receive understanding. And even sometimes it can be a leverage, like, don't be so hard on yourself. But what would happen? What would happen if we really let ourselves off the hook? If we said with Paul, I don't even judge myself, for judgment is God's alone. How deep, how willing are we to go down that rabbit hole of these connotations of forgiveness? I want to read for you two poems that shine a light along this concept and notion of forgiveness. The first is by Meister Eckhart. So Eckhart was one of these great mystics who went through a period of being highly esteemed in his age, and then went through being he might have even been excommunicated or banned. I've been banned, but he then went through being put down, and then a lot of his works were lost. They were hidden away, and no one valued them, and they were discovered quite a number of years later. So what comes to us by way of his writings and poetry largely was not known in his time, when he fell from grace in the eyes of the church. If all the tenderness in this world could reflect from my eyes, would you accept that love? If all the forgiveness the heavens have known could be offered from one face, would you accept that divine pardon? In God's sublime sanity, every moment, God offers that to us. Anything that might comfort. Wow, right? And then alongside that, we've got Teresa of Avila. You've been with me long enough that she needs no introduction. We've worked with her so often. This is a longer prose, but it seemed to me to hold enough around this theme that is centered on opening our hearts to the full experience of love, which automatically in this life means a falling short. That's part of the love experience. It seems to shine an additional light on this topic. I found completeness when each breath began to silently say the name of my Lord. That name, my conception of God, extended to me a hand that led to a place where even the divine name could not exist. Why? Most sounds express discontent, longing, or negotiation. The teapot may whistle out an ecstatic cry, but even that I learned to control until everything I knew burst in a glorious symmetry. I have no seams, no walls, no laws. My frontiers and God's are the same. One divine being is existence. What is the relationship of form to the unseen aspects of God? What percentage of God is unseen? What percentage of the truth do we know? God led me to a place where only light existed. Only in us is God so lost that this divine one asks questions. The soul outside all walls never troubles God, never wonders things like, where are you, beloved? For then your arms and God's are intertwined. I said to my Lord, this holy place I have entered, is your name the only key to this? And my Lord responded, how old do you think existence is? For eons of time, souls have been entering me. Every prophet's name is a key, as is every heart full of forgiveness and love. this opening of our hearts, which automatically includes forgiveness and love, is the key. Is the key. Are our hearts open? In this example of Jesus and the writings that we have an individual that acts from compassion. We have an individual that is so aligned that the heart is broken open again and again with joy and sorrow, with loss and gain. And so this statement, forgive them, they do not know what they do. Forgive him, her, she does not, he does not know what they do. That statement isn't like some big climax. Oh, here's the whole teaching on forgiveness. Here's the whole teaching on what it means to have your heart broken open. It's not the climax. It is the natural progression of a heart that has been one beating with love unceasingly every moment. Every moment. And that is our divine call. To let our heart be broken open, to beat every moment with love, whether that love is an experience of joy or that love is an experience of sorrow, whether that love is an experience of betrayal or that love is an experience of union, whether that love is an experience of knowing or an experience of not knowing. Every moment, our key is the openness of our heart to the fullness of the divinity showing up in us, as us, with us, for us. The opening of the heart. Jesus couldn't have not said what he said because it was the natural admission of truth and love in that moment. Just as if he was ending his last days and he was held deeply in the arms of everyone instead of being crucified, he would have said words of love, and they would have been a different tenor. Perhaps they would have been words of deep gratitude for the experience of God in everyone. But do you see the motive, the core, the essence is the same? It is this opening or the remaining open of the heart. Our hearts carry on a cellular level, on an energetically level, carry all our responses. When we are deeply hurt, our hearts carry that scar. When we are deeply loved, our hearts carry that consolation. Our hearts are the key to this discovery of who we are as love. And Jesus had the consolation in those moments of the love of who and what he was. The love of who and what he was. Will you open your heart today in new ways to allow yourselves to be uplifted, hardened, consoled? I love those words from Eckhart. If the fullness of tenderness showed up before you, would you accept it? If the fullness of pardon showed up before you, could you receive it? For source is one of comfort. Comfort. And one way that we are given comfort is to have community where we meet in sacred circle like this. This is God, where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. This is God right here, us. And there is great comfort to be had in that. So that is our meditation today, is a meditation. We're going to open the heart chakra. We're going to draw the energy. We're going to allow the energy to move through our being and radiate in and interpenetrate the heart. And I'm going to use the mala, and we're simply going to chant a Latin chant that means, where there is love, there is God. And very simple. You probably heard this phrase if you're a former Catholic or a Catholic. Many ways to chant it. We're going to chant it like this. So the words are ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est. And the phrase is going to sound like this. Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est. Simple. And just open your heart in the ways you know, but also in the ways that you don't know how to open your heart, because of the signature that you carry of love, unrequited love in this life. So I invite you to close your eyes. And bring your focus to the heart and the heart chakra, knowing that the chakra vibrates to an emerald green frequency. See if you can place your left hand on the heart chakra very lightly and feel the energy of the heart, knowing that the front of the chakra is the feeling part and the back is the will part. Through your intention, imagine or sense or allow the heart and the heart chakra to open energetically. Allow the light of the heart that swirls like a vortex to open into this space that we hold together. Into this space that we hold together. This is safe here. You are safe to open your heart. I invite in all our angels and guides, all the spiritual friends along our path. And to allow our hearts together to open. Be aware that we sit in circle. And there are many, many, many of us here. So together we tone this mantra, inviting in a breath. Ubikari jasetamo, Deus ipies. Ubicari 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 jasetamo, Deus ipies. We hear these words. To live life fully is to live with your heart wide open. But sometimes it doesn't seem safe to open our hearts. And other times our hearts fall open, intuitively knowing it's safe and supported. In this moment, in this space, you taste what it tastes like to have a moment that is safe, regardless of how much you open your heart. Do not open your heart. You are here, fully supported, exactly where you are. And in that, we seal this sacred time by drawing our palms together in front of our hearts, by bowing to the sacred heart that has been given to us, so precious in its love and its ability to love. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes with Namaste. Namaste. Blessings, my friends. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.